That's an hour more of
But you're
related activity.
But you're in the bus.
Yeah.
You're in the bus like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Okay. So, finding all this stuff out, mean, median, mode, and range, all that. Okay, we're going to just go into our, what button? What button do we go to push for data entry? Anybody remember? Stat? Edit. How do you get rid of stuff? Up, clear, down. Do not push the what button? Don't push delete because it'll delete the whole list. Just clear it.
If we had done that like Jeopardy exam, would you fix it?
Yes. Okay, so I have my data entered in there. Now I'm going to get out of there, just on my home screen. Stat, what? Calculate, one variable statistics. You can hit L1 if you want, but if you just hit enter, it's just automatically doing L1. So I have a mean. I don't know if you want to write the symbols. The X bar is the mean. 77.64. Median, it tells you, you just have to scroll down a little bit. MED, 80. Mode. Do you see anything that appears more than the others? And you can't really do that on here. If you wanted to, I could do stat, and then I could sort those numbers, and I would go sort, and then I would go L1. I would sort in ascending L1, and it says done, and if I went back to the stat edit, it would have them, and then it makes it easier for me to see if there's multiples. I saw 80 twice. So the mode is 80. You can have more than one mode. If something appears the same amount of times, you can go that, comma, something else. And there could be no modes as well, right? The range. That will equal the max minus the min. So the max, 99 minus 49. It means that there's a span of 50 numbers. Okay, fill in the words. If you have a large sample in your study, you will have a what kind of margin of error? Bigger or smaller? Smaller. The more people you ask, the better your data is. So if you have a small sample size, you're going to have a bigger margin of error. Okay? If you need to write that on your cheat sheet, large data equals small error. Small data equals more error. Okay. Confidence. Okay, what is our confidence level? So when you read this, how confident are you in this data? Which part shows you how confident you are? 95%. 95 times out of 100 is how confident you are in this. what is the interval? So the survey says that 45% of people surveyed had home phones, and this was accurate within 3% points. So this didn't ask for it, but what is the margin of error? How much error do we have? Plus or minus 3% error. Because you're accurate within that much. So what is the interval? 45% can go how high or how low?
42 to 48.
42% to 48%. Because if you're finding 45% of people have phone lines, right, that's not going to be an exact number because it's data. So they're saying it's probably close to that, though. So if this was the population of Manitoba, how many Manitobans are we going to expect to have home phones? So you're going to have to times this by 0.2, and then you're going to have to times it by 0.48. So you're going to say between this many and this many Manitobans have home phones. Do you know that you can push second entry and then just go change your number, right? Save yourself time, much as you can, go second entry. And then edit the 42 to a 48. Okay, so that's where we are. We're between that many Manitobans we're expecting to have home phones. Okay, I'm not telling you what to write on your cheat sheet, but if you need to write anything for that, go ahead. Confidence level, confidence interval. Maybe I would write myself a note. Confidence level is usually something like 90 or 95% confident. I might write myself a note that this was the minus and the plus of the margin. Okay, which data is more consistent? What's the rule there with consistency? I have standard deviation. What does that tell me about being consistent? What does standard deviation tell us? How close we are to the mean, right? So who would be more consistent? A. So if you needed a cheat sheet note, we could talk, the lower your standard deviation is, the more consistent you are. If you have a high standard deviation, you're more spread out from the mean. If you need to write something out, so if this was my data of my 2 pre-calculus classes or something like that, and I was saying, well, how can I compare the classes with each other? Well, they seem like they have very similar averages, but this one would be way more consistent. Range also tells me that people are getting low and high marks compared to these people who are closer to the mean. They're getting closer to the average test score. These, I might have some kids that are failing and some kids that are getting 100%. That's what that would mean. Okay? We're good? We like what we need to put on our cheat sheet so far? Okay, this I would say needs to be on your cheat sheet. A drawing. Small drawing. Okay, let's first of all, we'll put our numbers on here. So if you had a class average of 80, that is the mean. A standard deviation of 4 means if you're one standard deviation above, you're at 84, 88, 92. Okay, I would probably give you the big rules. So the big rules I would tell you are between 1 away, 68% of your data falls in that zone. 2 away is 95%. And 99.7% of the data is under the 3s. So that being said, we're going to get every little tiny chunk. Using those 3 rules, we can get every little chunk. Okay, what is from 80 to 84? What's the percent in that zone? 34%. 34%. Okay, let's go 95 divided by 2. That is 47.5 minus the 34 leaves me with 13.5%. Can you do the same thing? 99.7 divided by 2, and then minus that and that. So I got 2.35. And what is left on the outsides yet? There's a little bit of data left out there. What should here and beyond all be? Here and up should all total what? 50. So can you do 50, subtract 0.15%? It's a very small amount, right? Because those people are, if you're a test score, you're either really smart or the other end compared to the average. Okay. So on your exam, if you see this question, I specifically say in the directions you must use the rules of 68, 95, 99.7 to answer the questions. Okay? So don't just type it into your calculator. Some people did that on their test and I didn't give them any points because I said use the rules. Okay, so between 68 and 80. So you need to add 2.35. You need to add those 3 sections then, right? Okay, that's okay how we did that? Now, 76 and above. What would we do there? I would take just this one section and then do what with it?
50.
Add 50, right? Because this, the halfway is 50 and then this section as well. So 84%.
Can you just show the percents on the top again?
68, 95, 99.7. Okay, so the below 72, you should add, it'll be a very small amount, right? Okay, keep going. I think you can do the next one. So the next one, you could have added the 4 sections up, or you could have just understood it was the -2 to 2, which is, boom, just 95. That's the big rule. Okay, so that one's pretty straightforward once you have your drawing done, right? Just make sure you have those numbers in there, that they're ready to go. Okay, I think we're going to need to write some stuff here. Okay, you would be given the Z-score formula. I might suggest just writing it on your paper the way you want it to state. So I would go Z-score equals my score, which is an X, minus the mean, which is, I don't know, sometimes it gives you a U and sometimes it gives you an X bar, over standard deviation. Do you remember that symbol sometimes? Circle with the hook. So sometimes mean is given as an X with a bar, and sometimes it's given as a fancy U, like a cursive U. But I would write this so that I know my words and symbols together. It'll be on your formula sheet, but I'm not sure how it's written, so just write it in words. if you really want to think about more things to write, positive z's, negative z's, right? That's also a thing you should remember if you needed to make a memo for yourself, right? Okay, so more than likely there might be a question that makes you go z-score, and the other question might make you go to your score, right? I have the two ways to do it. So what is your z if you scored 93 and the average was 85 over the standard? You're positive, right? Because you're above the average, so you're positive. Okay, did you type it with brackets? Or push enter before you divided? Because if you just tried to do something minus something divided by something, it would come out wrong, right? Okay, so 8 is the other way. Figure out your score.
Are we gonna be getting, sorry to interrupt, are we gonna be getting all these formulas on our exam?
Yeah. When you look at a paper I gave you on your very first day of class, that's the same paper you're going to get on your exam day. So it would have this formula on there. Just whatever, if you don't know the symbols, I don't know if I wrote it in words or symbols. So just making sure you know which component's what component. So Z, so negative 1.7 equals my score minus 85 over 5. So you have to do 2 algebraic maneuvers here. What? And then what? Times by 5. And then I would add 85, right? You see those maneuvers to get x alone? And I knew that I was below the average because I had a negative z-score. So I'm lower than the test average or whatever it would be. Okay. So, cheat sheet time. We want this on our cheat sheet. To get data percent, that's what your instructions would be on your cheat sheet. To get the data percent, you're going to hit the distribution button. Everybody sees where that would be. Do you remember what that is? You have to hit yellow vars. Distribution, do you remember which one it is? Normal C, cats and dogs. Cats and dogs. Normal C, DF. Then, do you remember you have to type in 4 different things with commas? So what order does it go in? Lowest, comma, high, comma, mean, comma, standard. If it's a z-score, what do you put in for the mean? What z-score is right in the middle?
0.
0. What's a standard? 1. If it's a z-score that you're talking about. Now, sometimes if we're talking below, what do we use as a low when we say something is below something? What do we do? Negative 9999, right? And if something is above, then what would we replace the high with? Positive 9999, right? So that's to get a percent. That was your instructions, right? To get a percent, you do those things. We'll write what you need to there. That would be what I would want to write. So if I'm going to go from so this is kind of my visual for you. I'm trying to figure out what percent of the data would fall between a negative 1.8 and a 2.1. Okay, so normal CDF, negative 1.8, comma, 2.1, comma, what do we do in this situation? 0 and 1, right? And this is a percent, so you can times it by 100 if you want. 94.6% of data. Did everybody's work out? Normal CDF? Did you say yours didn't work out? Salika, did yours not work?
No, I'm just trying to understand that. Is that negative 1.8 and then what did you do?
Comma, 2.1.
Comma.
Comma. Everything's going to go with commas, yep. Did you write that in there like that? Comma, comma. So on question B, I'm trying to get above 0.6. So that's what I'm asking you for. What is that percent of the data? So you're going to use the 0.6, comma, and then the 99999, right? %27.4%? Not working? Did you not get it? It came in error? Did you do the baby negative symbol or the minus sign?
No, I did -1,8.
Oh, instead of a point. Yep. That will cause it to... Good? Okay, and the last one is below a 2.5. So this is going to be a large amount of the data. Should be below that. And then we'll use the negative 999 for the below. So 99.4% of the data. I knew it was going to be big. Most of the data would fit in there. 99.4. Okay, can you answer these questions? So this one's the same thing except for you're not 0 and 1 because you have a mean and a standard. So this is the same thing. So when you're doing the normal CDF, above 30 is 30, comma 999s, comma mean, comma standard. Did you get 92.3? How did it go? I did that. Normal CDF, 30 to 999s, 33.7, 2.6.
It's above 30, so 30 is the lowest, and then.
All right, see if you can get the last two on your own. Are you asking me a question?
Yeah.
What's up?
On the exams, do you have to show our work like the brackets, or is it okay if we just put the percent?
Well, here's the thing. If you just show me the percent like this one, and you get it right, I can give you marks. If you get it wrong, I can't give you anything. At least if you got it wrong, and then you had something, but I could see what you did wrong, and it was a small thing, I could give you half point. So, risk-reward system on that one, yeah. Like here, if you just write me CDF, I know what you're doing or whatever, right? That'll save you some time if you just write CDF. Good. Okay, now I need you to write cheat sheet. Okay. So, did you see the first time I said to get data percent, you do this. Now, to get the data value if you are given the percent. So this is working backwards. So you're going to hit the distribute button. Then you're going to hit number 3 called inverse norm. Then what do you remember about that one? It's a decimal. You have to do a decimal value of the percent. Maybe we should write below. It's always below.
Huh? How do you can't stack them.
What? No. It's just one thing. It's a percent. Then that will equal, when you hit enter, it equals your Z score. Then you would use the Z-score formula to get your score. So you use the inverse to give you a Z-score, but you might have to use the Z-score formula to get me your data score. Okay? You ready to figure this out? 10% of data. So there's 10% of data below what? So we're going to inverse norm. What number? What would we type in that? 0.1. Negative 1.28 is the Z-score. So what is my score it told me the mean and the standard.
Are we always gonna do that for when we find like inverse norm, always do that?
Yeah, unless I just say what is the z-score. But if I say what is the value. Okay, you know what I would ask you to do? Can you leave that on your calculator and then go times 2.6? And then add your 33.7. You see how I didn't round it at all? I just left it all on there. Did you know that whatever I'm getting as my score better be below the average? Right? Are you connecting that idea? Because if only 10% of the people are below you, you're below the average, right? Okay, this time 60% of people are below you. So that means you're above the average, right? Okay, so I'm going to inverse norm 0.6. And I get a z-score of 0.25. Okay, same process, times by 2.6, add. So statistics on your exam will probably be the section where you're looking at your cheat sheet the most, I would think, right? It's a lot of just, what are my steps? What are my steps? Okay, here's where I'm going to try to trick you. Inverse what number? Because 15% of the people are above you. 15% of the people are above you. What am I trying to do to trick you here? I'm not going to put 0.15 in there, or what? What do I have to put? I need to type in what is below me. Below me. So 15% are above me. I got to type in the below. And I also, if I did it wrong, I would know because my z-score wouldn't come out the way I wanted to with positives and negatives, right? Okay, got your must-haves on your cheat sheet? So to get percent normal CDF, given percent inverse norm. Z-score formula, important. Okay, you will also have one of these on your exam where you have to draw a histogram or a line graph and you have to do a chart here. Okay, so how many throwers were between or in the 70s somewhere? So I'm going to probably start crossing them out. Anything in the 70s? Anybody getting two? Two?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I think crossing them out is a good thing. Okay, and then count the 80s next and keep going. 245? 73? 1? Okay. What if I asked you, is this normal distribution, yes or no, and why?
Yes,
Yes. Why?
it goes up and then it goes down.
It would make that kind of shape, right? There's fewer on the outsides and more in the middle. So that's a normal distribution of data. That's what data should be. Okay, so to make a graph, I need to see 3 titles. Something to title the whole thing. Discus. Throws. On the bottom, we'll put distance in feet. And then we'll put frequency up there. So I'm going to draw a little squiggly line to make, which represents I'm skipping a bunch. I'm not starting at 0. 70, 80, 90. So go up by 10s, 70 to 130. And up the other axis, you need 7 high. I'm actually going to, you can either go by 1s or by 2s. You have enough room, whatever you want to do. I'll just do 1. Okay, this says just to graph. So we can pick a bar or a line graph. Doesn't matter. I'm going to pick a bar graph, I guess. You can kind of see now the more of the normal distribution shape. It's got that bell up and down. Okay, so we already answered question B. Question B we answered, it was yes to normal distribution. How did I know? It made that shape. It went from low to high and back to low. How many throwers were in this competition? What would I do to figure that one out? Add the numbers here all up, or you can count every single one individually, but did you already say 22? Okay, we're gonna have to figure out mean, median, mode, range. So we're gonna go into our stat edit. Okay, so I don't know if we want to write something new on our cheat sheet. So when we do 2 variables, you're going to put the midpoints in L1. So for instance, 75, 85, okay? Put those points in there. So stat edit, put the midpoints in. Everything with 5s in it. $75 all the way to 125. Okay, so cheat sheet, you probably want something on your cheat sheet when you're doing a table like this to make sure you're doing the midpoints. And then this would be different than the original. When I do the stat calculate, 1 variable statistics, what do I have to type right now?
L1,
L1, comma, L2. Okay? So these are the things that I'm writing on my cheat sheet that I'm making sure I'm doing L1 comma L2 on my variable stats, okay? We're matching 98.6, 100. The mode is, what's the highest bar, right? What's the highest bar? The 105 midpoint. Or I would have been okay if you would have wrote the 100 to 110 group, whatever. Okay, so to answer a few questions, if you threw 95 feet, what's your Z score? So what should I do? Formula. Oh, I need my standard, I guess. It's on here. The standard is the hook one, so 12.98. Okay, so all that from your VARS stats. It'll tell you all those numbers. You need them all. I'm just below the average, right? Okay. What percent means I'm using what button? The normal CDF. Normal CDF, if you're under 80. Under 80. Okay, the next question is what percent again? So I'm going to copy, but this is going to be from 100 to 120. Everything else is the same. I'm just going to change my interval on that one. Okay, so those are usually the ones that are easier, and this last one is the hard one. This time I gave you 80%, so what button are we going to be using? Inverse. How do you do 80% through at least? 80%. So is that the top or bottom 80%? % of throwers through at least what distance? That would be that'd be like that, right? Below you? 80% of the people are below you? I had to think about that one.
Yeah, yeah.
And what do you do there though? This is a Z score. Okay, and then convert it to a discus throw using the Z formula. Okay, must-haves on your cheat sheet. Z score, given a percent, to get a percent, stat edit instructions. What else can we think of? I think we got lots on our cheat sheet now.